I never saw it coming. One moment we were laughing over burnt toast and cold coffee, and the next her eyes were a battlefield of something I couldn't name. The sound of her laugh, the one that used to make my chest tighten in warmth, suddenly felt sharp, brittle, as if it had been hollowed out overnight. We had been sitting at the small kitchen table, the morning sun spilling across her hair like liquid gold, when I carelessly mentioned his name. Just a fleeting comment about something trivial. How her ex had once taken her to that ridiculous pop-up art exhibit she hated but pretended to love. I thought it was innocent, a bridge to her past, a way to tease her memory. But the shift was immediate. Her fork froze midair. Her hand trembled slightly, though she tried to mask it. And then, oh God, the look. I had seen anger before, disappointment, even fear, but this was different. It was a collision of emotions I couldn't untangle. Hurt, guilt, something almost feral, and beneath it, shame. Her lips pressed together, thin and rigid, eyes narrowing as if she were deciding whether to forgive me or punish me. My heart slammed against my ribs, a visceral warning that something inside her had fractured. A fracture I had somehow caused without realizing it. Don't, she said, quiet, but it carried the weight of a slammed door. Don't what? I asked, my voice uneven, betraying the rising panic I refused to acknowledge. Her gaze didn't waver from mine, but it wasn't soft, not even a little. It was sharp, calculated, defensive. And suddenly the kitchen, the sunlight, the coffee. It all felt suffocating, like walls were closing in. Mention him, she whispered. I nodded slowly, pretending I understood, pretending it was just a silly misstep. I wanted to laugh it off, but the knot in my stomach only tightened. She excused herself and went to the bedroom, leaving me at the table with my trembling hands wrapped around a coffee cup that had gone cold. Every sound of the house seemed amplified. The hum of the refrigerator, the distant traffic outside, the tick of the clock on the wall. My mind raced, spinning scenarios, replaying her expression, searching desperately for a clue. That afternoon she was distant, clipped, yet nothing overtly incriminating surfaced. I rationalized it. Maybe she was just stressed, or maybe she hated the reminder. My mind was a battlefield between denial and dread. But the seed had been planted. I felt it, deep in my chest, a growing unease that twisted everything. Days passed and subtle changes emerged. Phone calls she hid behind her back. Texts that she quickly deleted. An inexplicable aversion to discussing anything about her past. My attempts at normal conversation were met with forced smiles, tight-lipped answers, averted eyes. I told myself I was imagining things. I told myself that trust meant not looking too closely, not probing too far. But trust is a fragile thing, and mine had already splintered. Invisible cracks spreading with every secret she kept. One evening I found myself wandering into the bedroom, drawn by a mix of fear and compulsion. Her phone lay on the dresser, unlocked for some reason, the screen alive with a conversation that made my stomach drop. The words weren't explicit, but the intimacy, the shared laughter, the little inside jokes. They were hers, and yet they weren't meant for me. My hands shook, the air thick and suffocating. My mind screamed to close it, to walk away, to pretend I hadn't seen anything. But I couldn't. When she returned, I was sitting on the bed, her phone trembling in my hands. She froze. I froze. And in that moment, the entire room seemed to collapse into silence. I started, but the words caught in my throat. She looked away, her shoulders sagging, and finally, softly, she said, I didn't want you to find out this way. The betrayal cut deeper than I expected, sharper than any imagined scenario. It wasn't the affair itself, though the thought of her with someone else was unbearable. It was the layers of deceit, the careful choreography to keep me blind, the casual intimacy she had shared elsewhere while calling me her soulmate. Anger and hurt collided in a storm that left me trembling. How long? I demanded, my voice cracking, though I tried to sound composed. Her gaze met mine, and there it was, the guilt, the shame, the raw human vulnerability. Months, she admitted. I didn't mean for it to happen, not really. I felt lost. The confession was a shard of glass in my chest. Part of me wanted to scream, to throw everything against the walls, but another part, the part still tethered to love, wanted to understand, to salvage something, anything. But love doesn't erase betrayal. We sat in silence, the air dense with unsaid words. Every familiar sound, the creak of the bed, the faint hum of the heater, the distant city noise, felt alien. Her hand reached for mine, trembling, hesitant. I wanted to take it, to feel the warmth I remembered, but my own hands were shaking too violently. I can't do this, I whispered, more to myself than to her. I know, she replied, and her tears finally fell, unrestrained. I realized then that she wasn't just grieving me. She was grieving herself, the choices that had led her here, the life we had built now cracked. I left that night. The door clicked softly behind me, a small sound that felt catastrophic. Outside, the cool air hit my face, sharp and unforgiving. I walked through the empty streets, numb, my mind replaying every smile, every whispered "I love you," every fleeting expression of joy that now felt like a lie. Weeks later we spoke again, but the magic was gone. The intimacy we shared had been replaced by something fragile, tense, and brittle. Every word was measured, every touch avoided, a constant reminder of the betrayal that had fractured everything. I realized then that some bonds, no matter how deep, are impossible to repair once trust is broken. The memory of her face the morning I mentioned him, the shock, the anger, the fear, stays with me. It is a permanent scar, a warning carved into my heart. Love is not immunity from pain, and even the strongest connections can unravel in an instant. And yet, even in the wreckage, a part of me loved her. Loved her enough to feel every betrayal as if it were mine. Loved her enough to mourn what could have been. But some truths are too heavy, and some fractures too deep. In the end, love alone is not always enough to bridge the chasm that betrayal creates.